So, hallo und herzlich willkommen in einer weiteren Folge von Morrowind. Wir haben diesen lustigen Brief gelesen, den wir jetzt schließen werden. Und dann widmen wir uns doch schon gleich mal dem nächsten Brief, nämlich dem Krieg des Roten Mountains. So, ist auch wieder so ein Boah, sag mal, das sind echt so ewig lange Dinger hier. The Battle of Red Mountain and the Rise and Fall of the Tribunal. The following is a transcript of the words of Lord Vivek addressed to a dissident priest, Malur Omain, who confronted Vivek with the Ashlander traditions surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain and with prophecies of the Neverine, and to unnamed magistrates of the Inquisition who joined Vivek in interrogating the dissident priests. Who can clearly recall the events of the distant past, but you have asked me to tell you, in my own words, the events surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain, the birth of the Tribunal, and the prophecies of a Nerevar reborn. Here is what I can tell you. When the Chimmer first abandoned the herds and tents of the nomadic ancestors and built the first great houses, we loved the Daedra and worshipped them as gods. But our brethren, the Dwemer, scorned the Daedra and mocked our foolish rituals, and preferred instead their gods of reason and logic. So the Chimmer and Dwemer were always at bitter war, until the Nords came and invaded Restane. Only then did the Chimmer and Dwemer put away their strife and joined together to cast out the invaders. Once the Nords were driven out, General Nerera of the Chimmer and General Dumag of the Dwemer, who had come to love and respect one another, resolved to make peace between the peoples. In that time I was but a junior counselor to Nereva and the Nerevar's queen, Almalexia, and his other favorite counselor, Thutathil, always doubted that such a peace might long survive given the bitter disputes between Chimmer and Dwemer, but by negotiation and compromise Nerera and Dumag somehow managed to preserve a fragile peace. But when Dagos-Ur, Lord of House Dagos, entrusted as a friend by both Nereva and the Dwemer, brought us proof that High Engineer Kagrenak of the Dwemer had discovered the heart of Lorkhan, and that he had learned how to tap its powers, and was building a new god, a mockery of Chimmer face and a fearsome weapon, we all urged Nereva to make war on the dwarves and to destroy the threat to Chimmer beliefs and security. Nereva was troubled. He went to Dumag and asked if what Dagos-Ur said was true, but Kagrenak took great offense and asked whom Nereva thought he was, that he might presume to judge the affairs of the Dwemer. Nereva was further troubled and made pilgrimage to Holamayan, the sacred temple of Azura, and Azura confirmed that all that Dagos-Ur said was indeed true, and that the creation of a new god of the Dwemer should be prevented at all costs. When Nereva came back and told us what the goddess had said, we felt our judgments confirmed and again counseled him to war, chiding Nereva for his naive trust in friendship and reminding Nereva of his duty to protect the faith and security of the Chimmer against the impiety. Entschuldigung, ich muss hier gerade mal eine Zeit aufschreiben für ein Räuspern. So. Trust, friendship, and reminding Nereva of his duty to protect the faith and security of the Chimmer against the impiety, and dangerous ambitions of the Dwemer. Then Nerva went back to Vardenfell one last time, hoping that negotiations and compromise might once again preserve the peace, but this time the friends Nerva and Dumak quarreled bitterly, and as a result the Chimmer and Dwemer went to war. The Dwemer were well defended by their fortress at Red Mountain, but Nerva's cunning drew most of Dumak's army out into the field and pinned them there, while Nerva, Dagoth-ur and a small group of companions could make their way into the Hrnchamd by secret means. There, Nerva, the Chimmer king, met Dumak, the dwarf king, and they both collapsed from grievous wounds and draining magics. With Dumak fallen and threatened by Dagoth-ur and others, Kagrenak turned his tools upon the heart, and Nerva said he saw Kagrenak and all his Dwemer companions at once disappear from the world. In that instant, Dwemer everywhere disappeared without a trace, but Kagrenak's tools remained, and Dagoth-ur seized them, and he carried them to Nerva, saying, "That fool Kagrenak has destroyed his own people with these things. We should destroy them right away, lest they fall into wrong hands." But Nerva was resolved to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come and whose counsel he would not ignore again. "I will ask the tribunal what we shall do with them, for they have had wisdom in the past that I had not. Stay here, loyal Dagoth-ur, until I return." So Nerva told Dagoth-ur to protect the tools and the Hrnchamd until he returned. Then Nerva was carried to us, where we waited on the slopes of Red Mountain, and he told us all that he transpired under Red Mountain. What Nerva had said was that the Dwemer had used special tools to turn the people into immortals, and that the heart of Loken had wondrous powers. Only later did we hear from other present that Dagoth-ur had thought the Dwemer destroyed, not made immortal, and no one knows for sure what really happened there. After hearing Nerva, we gave our counsel as he requested, proposing we should preserve these tools in trust for the welfare of the Chimmer people, and who knows, perhaps the Dwemer are not gone forever, but merely transported to some distant realm, from which they may someday return to threaten our security once again. Therefore, we need to keep these tools, to study them and their principles, so that we may be safe in future generations. And though Nerva voiced his grave misgivings, he was willing to be ruled by our council under one condition: that we all together should swear a solemn oath upon Asura that the tools would never be used in the profane manner that the Dwemer had intended. We all readily agreed and swore a solemn oath at Nerva's dictation. So then we went with Nerva back into Red Mountain and met with Dagoth-ur. Dagoth-ur refused to deliver the tools to us, saying they were dangerous and we could not touch them. Dagoth-ur seemed to be irrational, insisting that only he could be trusted with the tools, and then we guessed that he had somehow been affected by his handling on the tools, but now I feel sure that he had privately learned the powers of the tools and had in some confused way decided he must have them for himself. Then Nerva and our god resorted to force to secure the tools. Somehow Dagoth-ur and his retainers escaped, but we gained the tools and delivered them to Sothasil for study and safekeeping. For some years we kept the oath we swore to Asura with Nereva, but during that time in secret Thothathil must have studied the tools and divined their mysteries. And at last he came to us with a vision of a new world of peace, with justice and honor for nobles, and health and prosperity for the commoners, with a tribunal as immortal patrons and guides, and dedicated ourselves to this vision of a better world. We made a pilgrimage to Red Mountain and transformed ourselves with the power of Kagranek's tools. And no sooner than we had completed our rituals and begun to discover our new-found powers, did Daedra Lord Asura appeared and cursed us for our forsworn oath. By her powers of prophecy, she assured us that her champion Nereva, true to his oath, would return to punish us for our perfidy and to make sure such profane knowledge might never again be used to mock and defy the will of the gods. But Thothathil said to her, "The old gods are cruel and arbitrary, and distant from the hopes and fears of men. Your age is past. We are the new gods, born of the flesh and wise in caring of the needs of our people. Spare us your threats and chiding, inconstant spirit. We are bold and fresh and will not fear you." And then in that moment all Shimmer were changed into Dunmer, and our skins turned ashen, and our eyes into fire. Of course, we only knew at that time that this had happened to us, but Asura said, "This is not my act, but your act. You have chosen your fate, and the fate of your people, and all the Dunmer shall share your fate from now to the end of time. You think yourselves gods, but you are blind, and all is darkness." And Asura left us alone in darkness, and we were all afraid. But we put on brave faces and went forth from Red Mountain to build a new world of our dreams. The new world of our dreams. And the new world we shaped was glorious and generous, and the worship of the Dunmer fervent and grateful. The Dunmer were at first afraid of their new faces, but Thothathil spoke to them, saying that it was not a curse but a blessing, a sign of their changed natures, and sign of their special favor. They might enjoy as new mer. No longer barbarians trembling before ghosts and spirits, but civilized mer speaking directly to their immortal friends and patrons, the three faces of the tribunal. And we were all inspired by Thothathil's speech and vision, and took heart. And over time we crafted the customs and institutions of a just and honorable society. And and the land of Bereitstellen, new millennia of peace, equity, and prosperity unknown to other savage races. But beneath Red Mountain, Darth-Ur had survived, and even as the light of our bold new world shined ever more brightly beneath Red Mountain, the darkness gathered, a darkness that was close kin to the bright light that Thothathil coaxed from the heart of Loken with the tools of Kagranak. As the darkness grew, we fought it and crafted walls to confine it, but we never could destroy it, for the source of the darkness was the same source as the source of our own divine inspiration. And in these latter days, of Morrowind reduced to a subjugated province of the Western Empire. As the glory of the temple fades and the dark tide rises from Red Mountain, we are reminded of Asura and her promised champion's return. We have waited, blind and in darkness, mere shadows drained of our ardent vision, in shame of our folly, in fear of our judgment, and in hope of our deliverance. We do not know if the outlander claiming to fulfill the prophecies of the Neverine is our old champion Neverwell reborn, or a pawn of the Emperor, or a caste spawn of Asura, or some simple twist of fate, but we insist you adhere to temple doctrine and conform to the strictures dividing the hieroglypha from the apocrypha, and that you not speak that which must not be spoken openly. Act as a dutiful priest should, in accordance with your vows of obedience to the canons and archcanons, and all will be forgiven. Defy me, and you will know what it is to stand against the god. Vivek. So, lustige Lesestunde. An dieser Stelle bedanke ich mich wieder für eure Aufmerksamkeit. Wir widmen uns in der nächsten Folge den nächsten Plänen. Bis dahin wünsche ich euch eine tolle Zeit und auf Wiedersehen.